My dear viewers, beginning today is the official Alliteration Gaming Patreon and channel members. Throughout my Patreon, we've got quite a few tiers you can check out in order to gain special perks and even commission videos that you'd like to see me upload onto the channel. Every tier includes a shout out on my supporter card at the beginning of all of my videos, along with the benefits of the tier itself. Following that, you can now also join the Alliteration Nation by becoming a channel member on the YouTube side of things. Pledging your subscription here as a member of the channel is going to grant you the same shout out on my supporter card as all the Patreon tiers do, as well as access to the members only channel on my Discord. You'll gain a member badge that will level up as you stay subscribed and access to my exclusive emotes when I stream on YouTube. If you're interested in checking out the Patreon, I'm going to have the link in the description and in the pinned comment down below, as well as the link to my Discord should you want to join that as well. And if you want to become a channel member, the big beautiful join button is front and center on my homepage right here. And if you do decide to support the channel in any way whatsoever, know that I am unimaginably grateful, and I can't wait to provide you with even more top-notch content at my trademark top speed. Now, let's get on to the video. Welcome, my dear viewers, to another Alliteration gaming video. My name's Levi, and it's Wednesday, so y'all know what time it is. It's time for some wealthy aspirations, but this time things are going to be a bit different. If you are a veteran of the channel, you know this as our weekly Market Watch series. Every Wednesday, we scour the whole of TCG Player. We go set by set, we go rarity by rarity, and we just see what interesting price fluctuations are going on within the whole secondary market, any notable buyouts, any notable things that are way more cheap than they should be, stuff like that. And that's usually how we've gone about this series, but the more I've made those videos, the more I've kind of realized that it's gotten very, very repetitive. Most things don't really move a ton, a lot of things stay the same, and I really just feel like I'm shipping out a lot of the same information every single video. And due to all of that, I've wanted to put a bit of a rework or revamp on the series in a lot of ways, do things differently, put a little more time into the videos, and just make them better experiences overall. So because of all that, we actually took a break from the series last week because I didn't have quite the time on that day to actually put all of those things into practice, as I had still just barely gotten back from the HLC from Vegas and had a ton of things on my plate. But this week was a little more free for me, so I was able to make the time to enact a lot of these changes. So what you're about to watch is a whole new Wealthy Aspirations. It's going to be much more of a card by card breakdown on just a selection of things I've gone through already and handpicked a bunch of things that I want to talk about, stuff that I think is good to watch out for, stuff that is being bought out, and stuff that is a really, really good pickup right now. So it's going to be a lot more focused and hopefully a lot more of an enjoyable and informative content experience. Of course, this is all very new, so if you could, I would really, really love your feedback down below on these changes to the series, and I'd love to hear other ways that I can improve it as well. With that being said though, let's jump right into Wealthy Aspirations 2.0. Alright, so new format aside, we are still going to go set by set when it comes to the cards because it's just easier to list them out that way. The first thing I want to talk about that I think you guys should be keeping your eyes on is actually two cards at once. We're going to look at Twisting Azure Inferno and we're going to look at Piercing. Both of these came out as Ultra Rares in Heroes Clash, and now we're finally getting Toga 2 and Dabi 2 as the characters that are really, really meant to go alongside them and of course work very well within them. And I think these cards are already really solid. I mean, they're the most expensive URs in set 3, which is not like a massive number, but still worth noting. And they've seen some volatility before, and so I do think that with Toga 2 and Dabi 2 coming out, the effectiveness and also the hype of those characters, people love those characters as characters, and I think they're going to love them as cards too. So we're going to see a lot more of these get bought up. There's a pretty massive amount of them in stock, but I do think that at the very least $10 will kind of become the average for these once set 4 drops. So keep an eye on them, and I'd say the same thing for the XRs as well. They're both sitting around $20 right now. I think it could easily change though, as there are not a lot of needles in stock. There's a little more Twisting Azures, but still not of a massive amount before these start seeing like 30, maybe even $40. The next thing I want to talk about, I have Binding Cloth Whiplash right here, but really what we're here to talk about is just kind of weapons as a whole. Weapons as a whole, especially void weapons, got like a massive glow up in set 4. There are so many void weapons in that set, and I think it's one of those packages to really keep an eye on. I have Whiplash here just because it's a started at card and it's seen some buyouts before. It's also pretty low quantity wise at the moment, so I would keep an eye on this one. I would keep an eye on XRs of pretty much all of the other attacks in that Eraser starter deck, Binding Cloth Whiplash and Binding Cloth Precision, the 3 difficulty, I think those are the big ones, but I also have Total Erasure Binding right here. Currently there's one in stock at about 13 bucks, and then they don't exist anymore. So I want you to be keeping an eye on all those void weapons, because I think people are going to be playing them like crazy, and especially when it comes to the trial deck ones, those are always so prone to buyouts. So there's even more reason to be watching them. As far as some other buyouts are concerned, Toru 2 has 4 singular listings all the way at 20 bucks each, which is a bit of a step up when you look at the recent price history. That is on the upper end for this character. It's the only one really going crazy. So if you're in the market for a Toru 2, I don't think this is a great time to buy them. If you're in the market to sell one, you might be able to take advantage of some stuff here. Freezer Burn is in the same territory. This one has been fluctuating in and out of buyouts for quite a little while now. It used to be super duper cheap. We saw them sell at like 8 to 13s all the time. Then it started getting bought out, and now they've been flooding in and out of stock at these crazy buyout prices. These are not real prices, guys. Do not pick up a Freezer Burn for 30 bucks. I will be personally very disappointed in you. You want to wait for these to go down. Stun Grenade XR is another one that's nearing very small quantities. It's also seen some pretty crazy buyouts. It's certainly sold for a lot cheaper than 15 in the past, but I do think that considering the circumstances, 15 is probably a pretty good price for this. So if you're in the market for XR stun grenades, they might come back even worse than this. So I don't think that 15 makes them a bad pickup. Press Conference is another one that's seen some pretty crazy price action right now. Because of the $5 shipping, this is essentially a $9 one. This is like an $11 one. These are getting pretty expensive, but again, these might be okay prices for these, all things considered. They used to sell a lot cheaper than this, but I don't know if we'll ever go back to that world. It took a while for people to realize that this card was quite strong, but guys, it really is quite strong. And I don't think this is the price to sleep on, because once these go, it might come back even worse, especially once again, like we said with the Eraser attacks, as a starter deck card. Now going into Snack Time, I think Snack Time is also a great pickup right now. Snack Time for 5 bucks is crazy cheap. These have been dwindling and dwindling, and as you can see, once again, they used to sell for absolute pennies, man. But again, we do not live in that world anymore. People finally are starting to wake up to how strong this card is, and I mean, this guy who got 4 for $1 each, you are a legend right there. If you're out there, my friend, you're an absolute legend. But I still don't think that 5 bucks is a bad price for these, because once they go, they might stabilize at something a lot worse. Going into some promos, Chivalrous Competitor, we have 4 of these listed at 20 bucks each, and it is the only listing. Chivalrous Competitor has been in like the $12 to $15 range for a long time now, and that, I mean, honestly, for a quirk pack card, is still pretty expensive, but it's such a pivotal part of the meta. Seizing the Advantage is still completely running amok, so you have to have this card if you're on these symbols. It's just still such an important part of the format, and it's unfortunate that it fetches such a crazy price. I don't think that now is a good time to buy them. I think they will get cheaper eventually, but if you need them right now, this might be your only option. But if you can, try and wait for these to re-enter that $12 range. They will come back in stock eventually, I'm sure. Next up, Dropkick Slicer actually seen a little bit of an increase, finding its way all up to the $11 range, more than likely spurred by the Kurogiri decks that Unfun Stuff played at the HLC. Notably, Bromley and Jose played these really cool Dropkick Slicer Kurogiri decks, and we can see quite a few of these selling very, very recently. I have to imagine that it's in connection to that. I don't think this is like a real thing to keep an eye on, but it is a pretty funny price increase that I wanted to note. If anything, just to give a shout out to my boys there. Next, Struggling with Studies. I talk about this almost every week in the past, but I do think that the listings are the quantities are so small right now. Only 6 of these in existence on TCG Player. 5 bucks is a fantastic price for this. They've sold pretty much around this universally for a long time now. It is a good price, and it's not to say that these are going to come back in stock at much more expensive prices, but this is a really, really, really pivotal card in the format right now. Very relevant in a ton of very good decks. Death as a symbol is about to get so much much better, and Chaos and Water have been very good for quite a while now. So it's going to continue to be a card that gets played forever, and I don't think it's a bad time to get your shiny copies of them. Next, I've got Knife Slice here, but what I really want to talk about is just evil symbols as a whole. Evil symbol staples as a whole is a better way to put it. Across set 2 as a whole as well, there's a lot of small ones here and there. Things like Knife Slice, Rooftop Vantage, Hero Killer, Intimidating Presence, these little cheap XRs scattered here and there that might be about to become a lot better. The $3 range, most of those sit in, and I think it's a good time to consider picking them up with set 4 on the horizon. Same thing for Excited for Blood, but notably I want to talk about the RLE here because it's kind of cheap. This one is moderately played, so that's probably why it's only 30 bucks, but you've got 10 in stock at 36. That's a really cheap price for these, all things considered. These were like 50, 60 bucks for a long time. This is also kind of what they've been selling at very recently. Looks like in the last 2 weeks or so. So not like a super new development, but man, people used to buy these for 90 bucks, bro. 35 is not too bad. So if you're looking to play some evil decks coming up in set 4, man, it's a nice time to pick up these really pretty alt arts. Excited for Bloods. Speaking of promos, the Merciless Rush crit promo from Origins. This card is legal now, boys. Look at that. Look at that. People bought these for 10, 12 bucks just a couple days ago. Absolutely is when the announcement that these are legal to play now came in, and now they don't exist. 40 bucks is what you're paying if you actually want these for real. So if you got these, right before, man, one guy bought 7. He bought all 7. This is the legend right here. He figured it out. He had the sauce, man. He had the sauce right there to go ahead and pick those up. I love that. But these are super legal now, so you want to keep an eye out for these to get cheaper, maybe, if you're looking to pick them up. And of course, any other alternate arts that are coming in the future, no matter how or what they are, they will be legal with the recent rule change. Next, let's talk about Midnight winning the HLC and Chaos as a symbol, because those are two really pivotal things that are causing, I mean, a lot of these old set 1 Chaos staples have been expensive for a long time because they've been so good in their other symbols, but even more reason for them to get crazy now when it comes to the first edge. 37 here, 35, 39, 40, 40. 1.3s are pretty crazy right now. I don't know if it's a great time to pick them up, but if you look, those unlimiteds are drying up, boys. The unlimiteds are so much cheaper than the first eds, and they're really drying up. This $23 unlimited one might not be a bad pickup when all that's left are these $40 first ed ones. On the complete opposite side of that coin, Release, one of the most staple Chaos foundations ever, one of the best foundations in the entire format, still only 3 bucks, guys. This one's been this cheap for like quite a while now, but they are starting to dry up. They are, like, we got what, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 before they start getting like into the $6 territory. Could come sooner than you think. It's one to keep an eye on for sure. If you don't have these foil releases, it's really never a bad time to pick these up. Next, let's talk about Determined Victory Smash. I don't think that this card is very good in the grand scheme of things. In these really cheeky muscular decks, yes, look at these super recent buys. These are the muscular players. These are the muscular players hunting down these Determined Victory Smashes. If you're not one of the muscular players, you don't have to care about this card. And if you have a muscular player at your locals and the foils of these have been sitting in your binder for a long time now, you finally have a place to pawn them off. The next thing I want to talk about is the evil symbol staples in set 1. I've chosen Apathetic as the feature card here, but there's really quite a few across the whole board. Things like Desperate Times, like Creepy Realization, like Sticky Balls, like Shock Absorption. Just a lot of those really solid evil symbol, super duper cheap XRs in like that $2, $3, $4, $5 range. Could be really solid pickups. They could be going supernova when it comes to set 4 coming out, and I think a lot of them are also pretty playable across the board, so they're not really bad pickups in the grand scheme of things. Like Apathetic will get played in everything pretty much till the end of time, more than likely. So that's kind of why it's the featured one here, because I just think it's way cheaper than it has any right being. Lastly, let's talk about some Season 1 RLE promos. We talked about these a couple weeks ago when it came to the HLC prize wall, and that the quantities on those, depending on what they might be, and then being able to be redeemed by the prize tickets on the prize wall there, those might be affecting the prices of these when it comes to them dropping, right? Because we're introducing more onto the market. If you went to the HLC, you'll know that there were only a few of each Season 1 RLE promo on there, so not going to really affect the market at all. If anything, it's only gotten worse because we only have a couple Electric Jolts in stock, and we only have one, I'm sorry, Zero Gravity Lift in stock. The rest have some reasonable quantities on them, but are still really scarce when it comes to the others. Season 1 RLEs had some of the best picks of the entire game so far, still the best set in my opinion. Not to mention, it was a season with so few RLEs that these are just going to always be super duper scarce. If they introduce a few more of them every time a prize wall comes around, that's really not going to change much in the grand scheme of things. These are essentially collector's items at this point, so if you want them, I mean, these are really not the prices to pay for them, in my opinion. Odds are you can find someone eventually that will sell them for a little cheaper than that, but it might be hard because at this point, we're kind of in the territory of the scalpers coming out. And that's going to put a wrap on this week's Wealthy Aspirations 2.0. Once again, please, if you liked this new format, this more kind of like concise, condensed, and scripted, planned content, please let me know down in the comment section below. I would really love your feedback. I want to continue to improve this series as well as just all my content in general. So every ounce of feedback does go a really long way, especially if you liked it. Hit that sweet like button, hit that sweet subscribe button for even more content like this. I want to just shove it all in your inbox. We upload 6 days a week onto this channel, and the uploads are only going to get more and more plentiful as all these Patreon videos are going to keep rolling in too. Speaking of the Patreon, you guys have been freaking amazing with the Patreon support, commissioning videos left and right from me. I have never had a more stocked workload, and I'm just super duper grateful for all of you guys rallying to help me start to support myself with my content. It really means a lot. And if you want to get in on that action, I'm going to have my Patreon linked down below. There's a few different tiers you can choose from that let you kind of commission videos that you get to either play a part in or get to dictate in a certain way. I'm going to have the links to all that in the description and in the pinned comment below if you want to check any of that out. But above all else, thanks so much just for making it to the end of this video. I really appreciate it, and I hope I can see you in the next one.